Okay, talking of uncynical fun, let's move on to Beastie Boys story, Scott.
Yes, the Beastie Boys story, and the Beastie Boys story is, and let me pause for a minute to prepare you for the sort of galaxy brain level insights that you come to this podcast for. This is the story, right, of the Beastie Boys. So I'll just give you a moment, as you'll probably need some time to recover from that level of knowledge bomb being dropped on you. It is a filmed stage show where the surviving members of the band, Michael Diamond and Adam Horovitz, narrate a potted presentation of their life and career from their early days through to the initial success with Def Jam as a frat bro rock rap parody of themselves, and then their regrets about becoming that mask, and their long road to reinvention and success on their own terms, a path that ended after the untimely death of Adam York. To a degree, I'm not sure there's much need for more of a recap than that. Mike D and Ad Rock prove themselves to be engaging storytellers, and it's an interesting story for fans who have some interest in their career. While I don't think there's anyone who would find this a disagreeable watch, I'm not sure it's going to do all that much for people that aren't already fans of their work. Thankfully, no such inhuman creature exists, so this is a moot point. Imagine not liking the Beastie Boys. The concept gives me the collie bobbles. It's not immune to criticism, I suppose. It's not exactly a warts and all expose, but then again, there doesn't really appear to be all that many warts to be exposed on these guys. They seem to be almost universally well regarded as artists, with their only blemish being the unabashedly misogynist lyrics of their first album, which I've mostly been suitably and bashfully apologetic for pretty much since the start of the 1990s. So you could also say, and again, let me pause for a minute to prepare you for the sort of galaxy brain level insights that you come to this podcast for, that this staged performance of a stage show recorded on stage comes across as a little stagey at points. Shocking, I know. Look, there's a few asides that were presumably at some point ad-libs that they like to then incorporate it into the telling that seem a little forced. However, at this point, I am very much picking at nits. I shouldn't give the impression that this is just them on stage delivering a PowerPoint presentation. There's plenty of cuts to archival footage as either B-roll or to show an important or funny moment. And director Spike Jonze and the editors, Jeff Buchanan and Zoe Shack, have done what they can to keep things visually interesting despite the limitations of the format. So yes, minor quibbles aside, while the Beastie Boys story is by no means life-changing cinema, it's a light, breezy, sometimes touching and often funny look at one of my favourite artists, and I enjoyed it a great deal.
Yes.
Moving on.
Yeah, we will be shortly because I've not much to add. I've liked the Beastie Boys for a very, very long time. Longer than I probably want to admit to myself, to be honest.
Yes.
And honestly, if I look even half as good as Ad Rock does when I get to his age, I'll be very impressed.
Yes.
He does not look the age he must be.
Yes.
Looks very healthy and happy.
Yes.
I guess Mike D did as well, which actually is quite nice to see because people in the music industry don't always look like that.
No.
I mean, there's certainly a bit of artificiality about it, although I don't think I felt maybe quite the way you did, Scott, about like feeling like maybe some anecdotes they liked felt a wee bit shoehorned in, but it feels quite genuine.
Yeah. A
lot of it, the way they're talking, and I don't think when Ad Rock's sitting down on the edge of the stage at one point talking about MCA, when the tears are coming to his eyes, I don't think that's fake. I think that was real.
No. Yeah.
And there's some really touching moments like that. And it's quite an unusual way to do this, to have the stage show, then basically film the stage show rather than just create a documentary from the same footage.
Yeah.
And I kind of like it, actually, because the wee bit of the audience feedback, it just, I don't know, it gives a wee bit of warmth to it.
Yeah, it definitely comes across more as a celebration than a sort of any kind of modelling, looking at the trouble points. It's more focused on the high points, and I think the audience kind of responds to that, and it gives it a nice upbeat feeling, which seems to fit all their personalities. So, yeah, it's cool.
I mean, they could have dropped the Steve Buscemi and Ben Stiller bit at the end. I'm not quite sure what that added. But, yeah, it's just... Yeah, you're right, it's not warts at all. And if you've read the Beastie Boys book that came out, was it last year, the year before? Not much of this is likely to be new to you, but hearing them say it in their own words and the clear kind of easygoing nature between Mike D and Ad Rock on stage, and then like they've worked with Spike Jonze for years doing music videos and stuff, and it's like the occasional shouts from the back of the auditorium from him. It just, that kind of just easygoing banter, that's clearly real. It's not forced at all. It's just nice. It just makes you feel even better disposed towards them.
Yeah.
I think perhaps the only frustration I have with the film, it's about 2 hours, isn't it? I could have watched another hour of this easily. And there are clips during the end credits of bits that didn't make it into the final cut, like little anecdotes and other bits of stories. Like, oh, tell me that. No, don't leave that to the end credits. Why do you put? Oh God, please finish that. I was actually getting quite frustrated. It's like, this all sounds really interesting. I'd like to see more, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again. I know it's not just the year, but the complete lack of cynicism there is nice, and it's like they talked about times when they weren't particularly getting on particularly well, but it's just like, you know, it wasn't just like really bitchy or anything like that, or settling scores or trying to make themselves look good or anything. And it's nice, and their music's brilliant. So, you know, it's all upside for me.
Yes. Yes, it is an enjoyable little film. If you've even the vaguest bit of interest in the Beastie Boys' music, it's well worth looking at. I didn't actually know all that much about either their creative process or how their work really fared in the grand scheme of things. I just seem to have. I know there must have been a time when I wasn't into the Beastie Boys, but I can't remember it. And from my point of view, like everything, even like Paul's Boutique on, it's like I was just convinced all of that must have surely have been, you know, hugely successful and influential because it wasn't me. Because
so that's exactly what I was going to mention, Scott, was Paul's Boutique, precisely that, because I'm watching this thing. Paul's Boutique bombed?
Yes.
Really? Oh, that's brilliant, that album.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're on the same page. That's nice. Yeah, it's quite an interesting way to do this. And it's funny, it's entertaining, it's informative, it's all good, really. It's not an earth-shattering thing, but it's certainly well worth a watch if you've got even the vaguest interest in their music.
Absolutely.